Have you ever tried to speak English, but suddenly your mind goes blank? You know the words, you understand the meaning, but when you want to speak, everything becomes slow and confusing. It feels like your thoughts are trapped inside your head, and you cannot bring them out in English naturally. This happens because most English learners do one big mistake. They think in their native language first, and then try to translate every sentence into English. This translation process seems normal, but it actually destroys your fluency. It makes your speech slow, broken, and full of hesitation. When you translate in your head, your brain is doing extra work. First, it creates the idea in your native language. Then it searches for English words, and finally it tries to build a sentence. This three-step process takes time. And while your brain is busy, the moment of speaking is already gone. That is why many learners feel nervous during real conversations. Even simple questions become difficult. Not because they don't know English, but because they are stuck in translation mode. They keep thinking, checking, and correcting in their mind instead of speaking naturally. Imagine a real situation. Someone asks you a simple question like, "Where are you from?" You understand the question clearly, you know the answer, but still, your brain starts working slowly. You first think in your own language, then try to change it into English, and by the time you are ready, the conversation has already moved forward. This creates frustration. You start believing that your English is weak, or that you are not good at speaking. But the truth is completely different. Your English knowledge is not the problem. The real problem is the habit of thinking in your native language while trying to speak English. Your brain is very powerful, but it follows habits. For many years, it has been trained to think in only one language. So, when you try to speak English, it automatically goes back to that familiar system. This is why translation feels natural, even though it slows you down. The biggest issue with translation is that it breaks your confidence. The more you stop and think, the more nervous you become. The more nervous you become, the more mistakes you make. And this cycle repeats every time you try to speak English. But here is something very important to understand. Fluent English speakers do not translate. They think directly in English. Their thoughts and words are connected instantly, without delay. That is why they speak smoothly and naturally without effort. So, if you are still translating, it simply means your brain has not been trained yet. It is not a talent problem. It is not an intelligence problem. It is just a thinking habit that needs to be changed step by step. And in the next section, you will discover something very powerful. You will understand how your brain actually learns language and why thinking in English is not something difficult or impossible. It is something your brain can learn naturally if you train it correctly. In the last section, we talked about the real problem behind slow English speaking. Now in this section, you will understand something very important that changes everything. You will learn how your brain actually learns a language and why thinking in English is possible for everyone, not just for native speakers. The truth is, your brain is not designed to translate every sentence. It is designed to understand meaning directly. When you were a child learning your first language, you did not translate anything. You simply connected words with situations, actions, and emotions. You saw an object, heard a word, and your brain linked them naturally without effort. This is how natural language learning happens. The brain builds direct connections between ideas and words. There is no middle step, no translation, just direct understanding. This is the reason children become fluent so fast. They are not smarter than adults. They are just learning in a natural way. Now the problem is, when you start learning English later in life, your brain already has a fully developed system in your native language. So instead of building new direct connections, it tries to use the old system first. That is why you automatically think in your native language before speaking English. But here is the important part. Your brain is flexible. It can create new pathways at any age. This ability is called adaptation. It means your brain can rewire itself based on what you practice every day. So if you keep practicing English thinking, your brain will slowly build direct English connections. Thinking in English does not mean you become perfect immediately. It means you start reducing translation step by step. At first, you may still mix languages in your head, but over time, your brain will start recognizing patterns in English directly without needing your native language support. Another important thing to understand is memory and repetition. Your brain learns through repeated exposure. The more you hear, think, and use English, the stronger those connections become. This is why listening and thinking practice are more powerful than just memorizing grammar rules. Many learners believe they need to translate less by force, but that does not work. You cannot force the brain to change instantly. Instead, you must train it through simple daily exposure. Small English thoughts repeated every day slowly change the way your brain processes language. Think of your brain like a road system. Right now, your native language is a big highway that your thoughts travel on very quickly. English is like a small road that is not used much, but every time you practice thinking in English, you are building and widening that road. Over time, if you continue this practice, the English road becomes just as fast and automatic as your native language road. At that point, you will not feel like you are translating anymore. You will simply think and speak naturally. So the goal is not perfection. The goal is training. You are not learning English only with your memory. You are training your brain to think differently. And this is the key to fluency. Now that you understand how your brain learns English, in the next section we will start practical training. You will learn a very simple but powerful method to start thinking in English using the world around you. Now that you understand how your brain learns English, it is time to start real training. From this point, we are going to shift from theory to action. And the first step is very simple, but extremely powerful. It is called labeling your world in English. This method works because your brain learns fastest from things you see every day. Instead of forcing long conversations, you start with small connections between objects and English words. You are basically teaching your brain to think in English without pressure. Look around you right now. Everything you see has a name. A door, a chair, a phone, a window, a table. Most learners know these words already, but they never use them in thinking. This is where the change begins. You start connecting your environment directly with English words in your mind. For example, when you see your phone, do not think about it in your native language first. Instead, try to directly think the word phone. When you see a door, think door. When you see a chair, think chair. It may feel small, but this is how your brain starts building direct English connections. At the beginning, you will feel slow and unnatural. That is normal. Your brain is not used to this style of thinking, but if you repeat it every day, it will become easier. Slowly, your brain will stop translating and start recognizing objects in English automatically. Now take it one level deeper. Do not only label objects. Start labeling actions too. When you are walking, think I am walking. When you are eating, think I am eating. When you are sitting, think I am sitting. These simple thoughts are extremely powerful because they connect English with real-life movement. The goal is not to speak perfectly in your mind. The goal is to stay consistent. Even if your thoughts are simple, they are training your brain to think in English naturally. Simplicity is actually better in the beginning because it reduces pressure and increases repetition. You can also practice this method during your daily routine. When you wake up, try thinking small English sentences like, I am waking up or I am tired. When you brush your teeth, think about it in English. When you drink water, describe it in English inside your mind. This may feel strange at first, but that is a good sign. It means your brain is breaking old habits and forming new ones. Every new habit feels uncomfortable in the beginning, but repetition turns discomfort into automatic behavior. The most important rule in this step is consistency. You do not need long practice sessions. Even 5 to 10 minutes of conscious thinking every day can start changing your brain structure over time. Small effort repeated daily is more powerful than long effort done once in a while. Do not worry about mistakes. Do not worry about grammar. Do not try to be perfect. In this stage, your only job is to think in English as simply as possible. The more you reduce pressure, the faster your brain will adapt. If you continue this method for a few weeks, you will notice something important. English will start appearing in your mind without effort. You will not need to force it. It will start happening naturally in small moments of your day. And once this foundation is built, you are ready for the next level. In the next section, we will learn how to force your brain to build full English sentences and stop inner translation completely. Now you have started labeling your world in English. That is a great first step. But if you want real fluency, you need to go deeper. In this section, you will learn how to force your brain to create full English sentences directly, without translation. This is the stage where real change begins. Because thinking in single words is good, but speaking requires sentences. And sentences require a different type of mental training. Right now, most learners still do one thing in their mind. They think in their native language, then slowly convert each word into English. This habit must be stopped. Instead, you must train your brain to build English sentences directly from ideas. Let's start with something simple. When you feel something, do not translate it. Express it directly in English in your mind. For example, if you are hungry, do not think about it in your native language first. Just think, I am hungry. If you are tired, think, I am tired. Simple, direct, and fast. At the beginning, your sentences may feel basic. That is completely fine. The goal is not complexity. The goal is speed. You are training your brain to respond instantly in English without stopping to translate. Now try something more powerful. Start describing your actions throughout the day in full sentences. When you are walking, think, I am walking to my room. When you are studying, think, I am studying English. When you are watching something, think, I am watching a video. This technique is called inner narration. It means you are describing your life in English inside your mind. It is one of the fastest ways to build fluency because it connects English directly with your real experiences. At first, your brain will resist this. You may feel slow or confused. You might even go back to translation sometimes. But that is normal. Your brain is just breaking old habits and building new ones. The key here is repetition. Every time you catch yourself translating, stop and restart in English. Even if you make mistakes, continue. Because fluency is not built by avoiding mistakes, it is built by correcting them repeatedly. Another important technique is instant thinking. When you see something, try to form a sentence immediately in English. Do not wait. For example, if you see a car, think, "That is a car." If you see people talking, think they are talking. This builds speed in your brain, and speed is the foundation of fluency. The faster your brain reacts in English, the more natural your speaking becomes. Remember, you're not trying to become perfect here. You are trying to become automatic. English should start coming to your mind without effort, just like your native language does. This is the turning point. If you practice this step daily, your brain will slowly stop depending on translation. Instead, it will start producing English sentences naturally from thoughts. And once this habit becomes strong, you will be ready for the final stage of transformation. In the next section, we will build a daily mental routine that will fully rewire your brain to think in English automatically. Now you have reached the final and most important stage. If you have followed the previous steps, your brain has already started connecting English with your daily life. But now we need to make it permanent. This is where immersion and daily mental training come in. Immersion simply means surrounding your brain with English as much as possible. Not just studying English for a short time, but letting English become part of your environment, your thoughts, and your daily routine. The more your brain sees and hears English, the more natural it becomes. Start with simple changes in your daily life. Watch English videos every day. Listen to English conversations, podcasts, or learning content while doing simple tasks like walking or cleaning. The goal is not just understanding every word, but getting your brain used to English flow and rhythm. Now comes the most powerful habit, the 10-minute English thinking challenge. Every day, set a timer for 10 minutes and force yourself to think only in English. During this time, describe everything in your mind. Your surroundings, your feelings, your plans, your actions. No translation is allowed. Only English thinking. At first, this will feel difficult. Your brain may try to switch back to your native language, but do not stop. Even if your sentences are simple or broken, continue. The purpose is not perfection. The purpose is training your brain to stay in English mode for a fixed period of time. Another powerful method is talking to yourself in English. This may feel strange in the beginning, but it is extremely effective. You can describe your day, your goals, or even small actions out loud or in your mind. For example, "I am going to study now," or "I need to finish this task." This builds confidence and fluency at the same time. You should also practice writing your thoughts in English. Before sleeping, take a few minutes to write what you did during the day in simple English sentences. This strengthens memory and helps your brain organize thoughts in English structure. Consistency is the most important factor here. You do not need long hours of practice. Even small daily effort is enough if you stay consistent. 5 to 10 minutes of focused English thinking every day can change your brain over time. Over time, something amazing will happen. You will notice that English starts coming to your mind automatically. You will not need to translate. You will not need to search for words. Thoughts will start forming directly in English. This is the moment where you realize real progress has happened. English is no longer something you study. It becomes something you think in. It becomes part of your natural thinking system. But remember, this transformation does not happen overnight. It happens through daily repetition. The more you practice, the faster your brain adapts. And the more your brain adapts, the more fluent you become. So stay consistent, stay patient, and trust the process. Because every time you think in English, even for a few seconds, you are training your brain to become fluent. And now you have the complete system. If you apply all 3 steps together, your brain will slowly stop translating and start thinking in English naturally. This is the real secret of fluency. Not memorizing more words, not learning more grammar, but training your brain to think directly in English every single day.